Imagine standing on a hilltop 15,000 years ago. No fences, no signs, and no borders. For the first 290,000 years of our species' existence, humans lived as nomads. You belonged to a group of people, not a patch of ground. These groups were held together by personal relationships, which are limited by the physical capacity of the human brain. Robin Dunbar's research identifies this ceiling at roughly 150 stable social connections. Below this number, you can track every debt, every grudge, and every alliance through simple gossip and reputation. When a group grows beyond 150, the system breaks. A single brain cannot track 300 unique relationships simultaneously. To hold larger numbers of people together, humans had to develop an external structure that the brain was never naturally built for. Today, every country on Earth far exceeds this limit. Even Vatican City, the smallest recognized state, has 800 residents. India has 1.4 billion. These are vast populations of strangers functioning as a single unit. The modern country is a multi-layered technological workaround, a system of stories and laws designed to bypass the biological limitations of our brains. This workaround began when humans stopped moving. Around 12,500 BC, the Natufian culture in the Levant began building year-round villages with stone houses and storage pits. Settling down changed our relationship with the ground, turning land into a resource for long-term investment. Early megalithic tombs across Western Europe functioned as the first territorial markers. By burying ancestors in a specific location, these communities tied their identity to the soil. The bones in the ground told everyone else who the land belonged to. At Göbekli Tepe, archaeologists found massive T-shaped pillars carved with animal reliefs dating to 9500 BC. Built by scattered hunter-gatherers, they gathered for shared rituals, cooperating through shared stories rather than personal relationships. This shared mythology functioned as a social technology. It provided a script that allowed 10,000 strangers to organize their labor, providing the first mechanism to scale human society beyond the 150-person limit. The next layer of the workaround arrived with the domestication of grain. Agriculture produced a food surplus that could be stored and controlled. Grain is uniquely suited for state control because it is visible. Unlike root vegetables that grow hidden underground, wheat ripens in a field all at once. A tax collector can walk past a field, estimate the harvest with a glance, and calculate exactly what is owed. Protecting this stored surplus required massive physical barriers. These stone walls and towers at ancient Jericho were built using an estimated 11,000 person days of labor. Managing a project of this scale required central planning and a way to feed the workers. As populations in cities like Uruk grew to 40,000 people, administration became the skeleton of the state. These societies relied on payroll systems and standardized rations that human memory alone could not track. Writing emerged as a bureaucratic accounting tool to manage this complexity. 85% of the earliest tablets recovered from Uruk are administrative records, tallies of grain distributions, livestock inventories, and worker rations. These bureaucracies eventually documented formal borders and defended them with organized violence. This stone relief from Lagash depicts a phalanx of soldiers marching in formation, used to enforce boundary agreements between rival city-states. Underneath the flags and grand histories, a country functions as a system of tax collection and ration distribution designed to manage oversized populations. A functioning state relies on a feeling of belonging among its citizens. This emotional bond allows millions of strangers to see themselves as part of a single community despite never meeting. Anthropologist Benedict Anderson called this the imagined community. It is a psychological fiction where individuals share a common identity because they all believe they are part of the same national story. The printing press turned this fiction into reality. When books and newspapers began circulating in local languages, millions of people who had never met could read the same news and stories simultaneously. This shared reading experience created a unifying language and a common sense of time. During the 19th century era of Italian unification, only a tiny fraction of the population actually spoke Standard Italian. The state was established before the people shared a common culture. As the statesman Massimo d'Azeglio reportedly said, "We have made Italy, now we must make Italians." Nationalism did not awaken ancient sleeping nations. It was manufactured by state education systems and media to bind large populations of strangers into a cohesive unit. Our current map of rigid borders is a modern invention. The Sykes-Picot Agreement of 1916 shows how lines were drawn by distant bureaucrats who divided entire regions into arbitrary zones, often ignoring the people who actually lived there. The system of 193 nations is still expanding. In 1945, the UN had only 51 member states. In 2011, South Sudan became the world's newest widely recognized country, established by a public referendum and a new national flag. Philosopher Ernest Renan described a nation as a daily plebiscite. It exists because the people inside it choose every morning to act as if it exists. It is held together by collective memory and the agreement to follow shared laws. Maintaining this agreement requires collective forgetting. Citizens must overlook the conquests and arbitrary lines that define their territory for the national story to hold together. The country you live in is a workaround for the limits of the human brain. It is a story that was invented thousands of years ago and believed by enough people to make it real.